All right, live chat is working. So yeah, John, if you were to go to youtube.com/Hopkins Sports right now, there's a icon at the top. It says live, and that is where we're currently on. Yeah, John, if you were to go to youtube.com/Hopkins Sports right now, there's a icon at the top that says live, and that is.
Where are we? I don't see it. I hear it. Oh.
Where's that coming from? Oh, I have this open in two places. That's why. Sports.
Where's the live? I don't see the live button.
So it's like two in the second row down on the YouTube page, and then it says live now. Student athlete parent town hall.
I got uploads. On the home page, I've got the lacrosse 16 season prelude.
Yeah, I don't know why that's there. It should be, and it's right on my screen. It's right below that.
I've got uploads after that, and I've got then the lacrosse 2020 season.
Try to refresh the page. I can also.
I got it now. I see it.
You got it. Okay. I can also put the direct URL.
There we are. Okay.
That I just posted the direct URL. If
looks good. I got it though now.
cool. All right.
Very blue.
All right. I'm going to turn my camera off.
It's just me on YouTube. Wonderful. Matt, are you going to take me down or something to have a nice screen for the...
Yeah. I can't. Do you not need to be on at the beginning?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I will remove you for the time being. Hey, Jake.
How we doing?
Good.
So do I still need to open something in YouTube?
You don't have to, no.
No. Okay.
Do you know who Arrive and Thrive 3 is in the waiting room?
I do not. I'm going to guess that's probably either Keisha or Liz, one or the other.
Okay.
That sounds like that's a Homewood Student Affairs
Yeah.
program.
Okay.
So I'll see you'll pump the questions to me through the chat feature here.
I will.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll be kind of communicating with the people in the chat as well. So I can drop in, if you want to leave a question for Liz or Keisha, I'll just text it in there as well after you make your initial opening.
Perfect.
I'm going to let Jen in for the beginning as well. I'm going to let Jen in for the beginning as well.
And then, Matt, it's all right if we're like not on video, not on audio while we're in the waiting room, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, it looks like we have about 90 people on currently. We can get started in about 30 seconds or so. All right, Jen, we can get started here.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our student athlete parent town hall. Thank you so much for making time to join us this evening. I'm sure that we've all been on Zoom more than we care to be over the last several months. So appreciate you taking the time to jump on again for us. Of note, my dog has now heard voices coming out of my screen once again and has checked herself out and gone off to her bed because she's gotten very used to Zoom as well. So welcome, my name is Jen Baker. I'm the Director of Athletics and Recreation here at Hopkins. Just completed my first year in this role, and I would say it was an interesting first year, but about to start my fourth year on the Hopkins athletics staff. So I'm no stranger to Hopkins. And am normally at this point in the year very excited to welcome all of our student athletes back to campus, and by extension to welcome all of you in person to share a little bit more about what we can expect for the fall and the ways in which we support our student athletes. Obviously things look a little different this year. So for those of you who have freshmen who have chosen to stay home with you, I hope that everybody at home is healthy and safe. And for those of you who have students, upper class students who may have elected to come back to Baltimore, again, hope everybody's settling into classes, hope everybody's staying safe. We are doing all that we can certainly to keep our campus community and the local Baltimore community safe, and continually reminding our student athletes, both at home and here at Hopkins, of the right things to do to make sure that we put ourselves in a position to fully return to campus here sooner than later. So with that, at the start of this year, I would be welcoming you back for a fall season, which obviously will look not the same at all. But I would have emphasized and will emphasize that going into any year, my two big priorities for our department are competitive excellence and a first-class student athlete experience, which is something that, and you'll hear from her momentarily, but Alana Shanahan, who was previously the athletic director when I worked under her, were of paramount importance to her, and we've continued that on in the last year. Now, obviously, we won't have the opportunity to compete this fall as we normally would, so the competitive excellence piece pairs away a bit, but the student athlete experience piece, we really are working very diligently to make sure that our athletes feel very supported and they have the best possible experience they can have under the circumstances. So I'm very excited for you to hear from all of our folks tonight to get a better understanding of all the ways in which we support our student athletes and by extension offer support to you, and talk to you about the ways that'll look this fall and then what it would ordinarily look like were circumstances a little bit different. So with that said, I'm certain that there will be questions that come up about this, but I just felt like it would be helpful for me to share a bit with you about what the fall looks like and what the rest of the year could look like. So obviously for the fall, we have no students on campus. We don't have any athletically sponsored activities happening at all, whether those are practices or team workouts or games. But certainly there is the hope that the public health situation will improve and we can bring everybody back for spring, in which case we're very much considering what those options could look like then. Certainly I don't have any specifics I could offer you other than to say that if it's possible from a public health and safety standpoint, we absolutely want to provide an opportunity for all of our athletes to compete in some capacity, whether that's in an abbreviated fall season that gets shifted to the spring, whether that's a conference only season, whatever that looks like. Lots of different options being discussed right now. But I think the high level takeaway is that we really truly hope to provide our athletes the opportunity to compete and to pursue that competitive excellence piece in the spring. The other part that I would share with you is in sport in general, I think there are sort of two pieces to it. The transactional, which is more of the X's and O's, the on the field execution, and then the transformational, which is truly the development and growth of young people that happens as a result of their participation in sport. Part of what I love about being at Hopkins is that our student athletes don't have to choose between the student or the athlete piece. They choose to be excellent in both. And in this fall, as we move into the fall, what we're really hopeful they'll do is focus on that academic opportunity and really choose to maximize their academic experience. And then with that, we can layer in the transformational pieces that, again, you'll hear more about the rest of this call, but the transformational pieces that really help them to maximize their athletic experience when they are allowed to come back to campus and participate in those activities. So I hope that you'll get a lot out of everyone who you hear from tonight. Certainly we'll have a chance to entertain your questions at the end. But with that, I want to introduce to you my boss, Alana Shanahan, who was previously the athletic director for 3 years, and then has since transitioned to becoming the vice provost for student affairs a year ago. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to her. I know she'd love to share some things with you.
Great, thanks, Jen, and welcome families. Again, a very odd way to welcome you all, but please know how thrilled we are to not only obviously have you with us, but to have your children with us. And as much as they're not necessarily physically with us, they're clearly with us in spirit and have begun classes, and we're excited to welcome them to campus as soon as it's safe to do so. So as Jen mentioned, I'm the Vice Provost for Student Affairs, a former athletic director, so that should tell you your students are in good hands and somebody who's very supportive of the athletics and recreational experiences. But just wanted you to understand a bit about sort of my role and how the work that my staff does tend to ensure that your students have a holistic experience. Obviously, I trust that they'll have a phenomenal athletics experience, but I just want you to understand that the student affairs team is here to ensure that they have a fantastic holistic experience as well. So the areas that fall within my portfolio kind of run the gamut from things obviously like athletics and recreation to Greek life, to residential living, to housing and dining, to student outreach and support, kind of case management where we help students that may run into any struggles. So it's sort of a far-reaching portfolio, but again, one that should be able to help your student if they need additional support or run into any struggles or just kind of need opportunities to enhance their experience on campus outside of obviously the academic experience. So we're here for them, we're here for you, but again, excited to have them. Obviously, you know, a particularly challenging time. The decision to return students to campus or not return students to campus, as it turned out, was incredibly challenging. I sadly don't feel as though it'll necessarily get much easier as we head into spring semester, as the conditions in Baltimore are still somewhat challenging as you consider them against some other nationwide and global conditions. But again, we'll continue to work diligently to ensure that if the conditions are safe, we'll be excited to welcome your students to our community. Hopefully they're finding connection, not only with their teammates, but with their fellow first years. There's a lot of programming, as you may well feel your student experiencing, that helps them in essence orient to Hopkins. They have a peer, a first year mentor that's helping to guide this transition to college life. So hopefully they're sharing with you stories of their first year mentor and how that person has ideally been a positive influence on their experience thus far and has been able to connect them with resources if by chance they've needed resources this early in their experience. Again, I don't want to take a lot of time on this call. You have a lot to hear from a lot of critical people within the athletics context, but I just want you to know that I am yet another partner in your sons and daughters' experience and somebody who just wants the best for them, wants this experience to start well, even if it's a non-traditional start. Please know that my office is open to all of you and your sons and daughters if challenges arise. Again, the office is the Office of the Vice Provost for Student Affairs. And again, a lot of those student services fall within my shop. So we can be helpful across a range of activities. And I think that's about it. Otherwise, you're in great hands. We're excited to have you. And we hope that you'll all stay in touch as your sons and daughters start this experience. Thanks so much. And back to the athletics team.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be with you. My name is Jake Okla, and I am the Senior Associate Athletic Director here at Johns Hopkins. I'm going to go ahead and take us through the rest of the agenda that we have for you here this evening, share with you some of the folks that you're going to be hearing from and the subject areas that they'll be speaking to. And what we'll go ahead and do is at the end, we'll certainly open it up for questions and answers. If folks have questions, they can go ahead and enter that into the chat feature on your computer screen. And we'll go ahead and do the very best that we can to answer those questions as we go. So first and foremost, we have Keisha Williams, who is our parent and family liaison from Homewood Student Affairs, as well as Liz Winberry, who is our student outreach and support coordinator, who works very closely around all matters related to our students with our head coaches, with our administrative staff. So they'll be the first up to speak with you tonight. The next group will be our student athlete development team, led by Assistant Athletic Director Al Littell. We also have folks here from the Life Design Lab on campus. We work very closely with them as it relates to career preparation and preparedness as our students get thinking about life after 4 years and what that's going to look like for them, but certainly allow them to speak to what their shop is doing in some really creative and innovative ways. Bill Smetic, our faculty athletic rep, I believe is also here, and we'll share some brief words. We'll also hear from folks in our compliance and academic realm. We have our Assistant Athletic Director, John Kindred, as well as our Assistant Director for Student Success, Steve Malvaso. After that, we'll talk to a number of folks from our sport performance team, Aaron Long and Ryan Slay. They head up and lead our efforts around athletic training, strength and conditioning, and the medical care that is provided to all of our student athletes. And then last but certainly not least is our team from Blue Jays Unlimited, who is our engagement and fundraising arm. It can speak to the fundraising efforts of our department and the impact that the dollars that are brought into this department have on our student athletes and their experience here at Hopkins. Before we jump in, and I'll turn the floor over to my colleagues, we also have all of our sport administrators on this call. And one of the things we just wanted to take a quick second to do was to talk about the role of a sport administrator. Sometimes it's not always abundantly obvious what a role of a sport admin has on a student athlete or with a student athlete. But essentially, every one of our varsity athletic programs is assigned a sport administrator. And the role of this individual, and here at Hopkins, it's comprised of the members of our senior leadership team, administrative leadership team within the department, including Director Baker, myself, and a handful of others. And really, they act as a general manager of sorts for each individual program. And they work very closely with our head coaches around all things related to the program in its operation, whether it be goal setting, recruiting, budgeting, travel, in-game experience. Our staff really works very closely with our coaches to ensure a very, very robust and strong student athlete experience. So they're also there as an additional resource for our athletes in case there are issues or challenges within the program, or if perhaps the coach themselves is having is the issue, or student athletes are struggling with communication. They're there as an intermediary and really a resource, an additional resource amongst many other resources. So to find out specifically what administrators work with what programs, if you're interested in that, feel free to go to our website and look. If you go under Inside Athletics and look at our staff directory, you'll see it starts with Director Baker and then goes right down the line and clearly shows which individual administrators work with each program. So with that being said, we've got Keisha Williams and Liz Winberry with us. I will say that both Keisha and Liz will not be with us for the entire duration of the meeting here this evening. So if you have questions specifically for them as you hear them speak and hear about the things that they do, please feel free to go ahead and send those questions in right away. And that will allow them to still be on the call and answer those questions as we go along. So with that, I will turn the floor over to Keisha.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keisha Williams, and I'm the Director for Parent and Family Relations. I get the distinct pleasure of working with current family members and incoming families. Hopefully this summer you've had some opportunities to spend some time with me as we have actually managed a 2020 virtual family orientation. And so we have provided 12 programs, I think almost 13 this summer, along with 8 communications, helping you to transition into the Hopkins community. My office acts as a resource, like I said, to both current and incoming families, providing programs, services, and communication. Some of the programs, those will continue throughout the fall semester. That's very important that we keep that connection. And so hopefully you got an opportunity to attend our last webinar last night. Your J is ready to soar, which we offered some strategies and information on how to allow your student some autonomy, though it's different because they will be at home with you, or maybe some of them are here in Baltimore, but it's important that each of you still have your space and that they learn how to advocate for themselves as they advocate through Hopkins. And that may be with building relationships with both their instructors, having opportunities, student leadership opportunities. We have over 400 organizations and student organizations. And so it's very important that they get involved in that as well, just so they can meet new friends. We will actually have a virtual involvement fair here shortly in September. And so I would encourage you to encourage your student to get on Hopkins Group, which you can actually get on as well, families. You can sign in, and that is where we house all of our events for students. It's also where students can actually join organizations and meet other people. So please encourage that. But we will also be having a virtual family weekend, which will happen October 2nd through the 4th. So again, we're inviting you to join us. We have invited many campus partners to join us as well, and it's going to be a good time, even virtually. So be prepared to hear more about that in the next coming weeks. We will also have, throughout the fall semester, we will continue with our communications. And so you received what we call the Blue Jay Family Welcome, which basically concentrated on certain areas, whether it was civic engagement, how to get involved, student health and well-being. We'll continue that conversation with you, families, because we understand that it's important that you have the right communication so that you can better support your student. So we continue that communication, and we call that the Blue Jay Family Welcome. And we will be highlighting organizations throughout the semester. But most importantly, because this is a different situation, we want to make sure that you have all the information, again, whether your student is with you or whether they're actually on campus at the university. So if you ever need anything, if you have a question, if you're unsure how to navigate through the institution, you can definitely start with my office. There are plenty of academic support services here for them to take advantage of if they're having issues with classes. And I know athletics does a very good job with that as well. But also too, I would encourage you to be a part of the Blue Jay Family Ambassador Program. That is an opportunity for you to actually volunteer your time and help me better support the university or better support students and their needs. You actually would be the best advocates for them, and you understanding what your student is going through, especially during this time. And so there will be opportunities if you sign up on the Blue Jay Family website that I will email you and ask you your opinion on certain things. We have 3 committees that are actually organized, the First Generation Committee, and you don't have to be a first generation parent to be a part of that, the Programming Committee, or the Welcome Committee. There are certain committees, or I guess not even obligations, but things that we may ask of you that are not overbearing. Really, it's just your opinion about how we can better support our students, how we can better support you, because we're all in this together. And so I just want to thank you all for your flexibility, your patience. I appreciate your emails and your thoughtful feedback. And we are listening, and we are here to make this a better experience for you. If you have any questions in the future, whether it's about your students' health and well-being, I can get you resources to that. And I think Liz Winberry will talk about that as well. But I appreciate working with families. I appreciate your input. And again, please take advantage of all the resources that people are going to talk about today, but also what I have talked about. And our next actual webinar will be Monday, September 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's called Falling into Hopkins, What Your Student Can Expect for the Fall Semester. We will have representatives to talk about health and well-being, your academic experience, the student leadership experience, just a very robust component about the amenities that we plan on providing your student, even though they're virtual, and providing you as well. It's also an opportunity for you to ask questions in that forum as well. So best of luck to you, and go Hop. Thank you. And I'll take questions if there's some in the chat. Okay. Well, there's not, my information is bluejfamilies@jhu.edu. If you want to email me, and my phone number is 410-516-7355. So look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Keisha. Okay, Liz.
Hey folks, my name is Liz Winberry and I'm the Director of Student Outreach and Support. And as a few other folks said, our office really works to support students, whether again you have first year students or second, third, fourth. Student Outreach and Support is a staff of case managers that works one-on-one with students to sort of navigate obstacles as they come up over the course of their entire college career, which we all know that things will come up. And things are looking really different this fall semester, as other folks have said. So we are navigating, and making those changes and adjusting as needed. But some of the main sort of broad things that we help students with majority of the time is concerns around like mental health or physical health. We will support students in finding resources available to them, whether they're here in the Baltimore community or if they're home, wherever home is for them. So again, finding therapists, psychiatrists, healthcare providers based on, again, what the services are that they need, and insurance. We also work really closely with our counseling center, and I know Erin and Ryan will go over this stuff as well. But please check out the counseling center website to learn about all the different resources that are available to students, including the Calm app, Timely MD, Silver Cloud. A couple of the other things that we help with is obviously with all the changes that are happening because of COVID, financial concerns. If there's been a change in your family's financial status, that's something we can help the students navigate with financial aid. We also have a pretty nice emergency fund for students who are eligible. So if things that come up last minute, like flights or medical expenses, winter coats, shoes, those are all things that we're able to help support students with. Food insecurity. Food insecurity is something that a lot of our students at Hopkins struggle with. That shouldn't be the case. So if that is something that's coming up for you or your student, or you hear about another student, please refer them to our office. And then any sort of personal or family concerns that come up, obviously with lots of the illnesses and changes that are happening as what they do every semester, but more so this semester, we will support the student in navigating. And some of the specific ways is if the student has to take time away from the class for a few days, is helping them contact their faculty members and navigate that process. Or if the student has to end up taking the semester off because of either an illness or a family concern, we will navigate that, keep in contact with them while they're away, and then welcome them back with open arms when they're ready to return. Something else that we do is we do offer support after a hospitalization. So obviously students are hospitalized for a multitude of reasons, whether it's mental health, physical health, alcohol intoxication. Our office is not punitive in any way. The support that we offer is based on care, and we want to make sure students are taken care of and connected to the right resources. Things obviously, like I said, look a little bit different this fall semester. The support that we offer is exactly the same. We're just offering it virtually. And currently students are able to connect with the case manager via our website. So if you just go to jhu.edu and type in student outreach and support, you can find out kind of how our scheduling system works. Something else that we're doing a little bit different this fall, which in some ways it's not very different, but when students are ill or need hospitalization, we often help with faculty outreach. And obviously with COVID, we want to make sure that our students who are in isolation and quarantine are also taken care of. I highly encourage you and to talk to your students, and if they aren't feeling well, to connect with student health and wellness to make sure that they are getting the support and the follow-up that they need. All of the students who do go through our student health and wellness services, again, if they're sick or if they just need to be in quarantine because they were potentially exposed or they come back positive, they all get connected with the case manager. And the case manager's role during that time, again, is to make sure that they are getting access to the food that they need during isolation. That if for some reason they're not feeling well, they're not able to attend class, that communication can be seamless with faculty and using discretion and to protect the students' privacy. So again, our office kind of supports students in a variety of different ways, taking into consideration all the weirdness that is happening right now. Again, making sure that confidentiality and privacy are most important. In terms of how students sort of get on our radar, we have a variety of different ways. So anybody can refer a student to our office. So you as a parent, if you're concerned about your student and you're like, you know what, this is something I know my kiddo is going to need, please visit our website and you can schedule time with a case manager. We also get emails from faculty and staff that say like, hey, I'm just concerned about this student. I think they should connect with somebody. We also have a fairly robust on-call system. So students who go through the on-call system throughout the evening, if they're ill or if they need help, things like that, the case manager will follow up with them the following day. So like I said, we find out about students in a variety of different ways. We're happy to support in a variety of different ways. And so please feel free to refer your student. Please feel free to email me. If you have any questions right now, please drop them in the chat. My email is ewinber1, so EWINBER1 @jhu.edu. So please feel free to email me directly with any questions you may have. Phone number 410-516-7857. And again, all this contact information is on our website.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Keisha. As you can imagine, when you hear about all that those two individuals do, they're a critical resource to us here in athletics. And so we appreciate hearing from them very much. The next up that we have on our agenda is our student athlete development team. So I'm going to turn that over to Al Littell to talk about our leadership programming and the rest of the team members.
Thank you, Jake. Good evening, everyone. My name is Al Littell. So my role here is Assistant Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development and Community Engagement. So we have a team of student athlete development professionals. We all kind of touch different areas, and we're going to go through and let them introduce themselves real quick. And then we can talk a little bit about some of the work we've done planning for this year and some of the things that we are rolling out and we're really excited about. So without ado, we can go to the next person.
Hi everyone, my name is Hope Burke. I work in the Life Design Lab and I'm excited to support your student athletes, and I'm excited to share about what we do.
Hi, I'm Bill Smedick. I'm the faculty athletics representative, and I work with the department as an advocate for our student athletes to the different departments on campus, academic units, and I'm delighted to be embedded with the athletic department and helping out in any way I can. So I work with the coaches and the student athletes in that advocacy role.
Hi everyone, my name is Jane Wells and I'm our head field hockey coach, and I also serve as our senior woman administrator.
Hi, I'm Steve Malvaso, the Assistant Director for Student Athlete Success. I work with men's and women's lacrosse primarily, but work with all of our student athletes generally.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Kindred. I'm an Assistant Director, Athletic Director for Compliance, and I am part of the Student Athlete Development team focusing on a lot of our academic support along with Steve and making sure our programming is aligned with obviously all of the NCAA regulations that we must follow.
Thanks, John. Thank you, everyone. So one of the things this group has been working on tirelessly, I think, since probably February of last year is taking a look at all of our student athlete development programming and how it works together. Ways that we can facilitate less time spent with our athletes and get more out of it, and fit programming into their schedules, because we all know they're busy academically and athletically. So we did, one of the first things we did with this group was really survey our student athletes and see how they felt about their programming. What were some areas that they liked in the past few years? What were some things that they didn't like? And we had a few key topics that came out of that. As we shifted into this virtual world last spring, we tried to find ways that we could use some of that feedback and really propel that to actually as an advantage for us. So obviously it's not a situation that anyone wants to be in, but in terms of some of our student athlete development programming, we're actually really excited. One of the things that we came up with was dividing the year out into different themes for every month. So topics like civic engagement, diversity, inclusion, mental health resources, nutrition, sleep, and alcohol and other drugs, and basically have each theme happen each month. And within that, try to find ways where we can increase programming at a shorter time. So try to get 30-minute modules, 30-minute workshops and conversations, and kind of surround the athletes in different delivery formats. So one of the things we're rolling out this year is having students have an open forum every month to have a conversation about the topic, producing a newsletter every month to give them resources with books and podcasts and documentaries and things that they can watch, providing coaches with the ability to have conversations with the student athletes, whether it's organically, or something that they intend to do around those topics. And then what we're really excited about is leaning on our resources that we have here at Hopkins, whether it be alumni or faculty and staff, and really partnering with them to find ways to create engaging programming for our athletes. And the benefit of some of this being virtual is that we can then record and provide a resource for our student athletes. So some of the feedback we got was times didn't work for them, or they were traveling, or academics got in the way. So we want to find the best opportunity to utilize the resources that we have and create relationships across campus and relationships with our alums and get them engaged to really create vibrant programming for our student athletes. So that's very broad. And then some of the other things that I cover, I oversee our Blue Jays Lead program, which is a leadership development program that's been fantastic for the last couple of years. And in this environment, we're really looking for other ways to expand some of the programming, just knowing that our students are not all together. One of the highlights of our programming has been that student athletes are in rooms with other members of other teams, and they can really talk about their experiences when they look at leadership and develop those skills. So we've tried to implement some other more experiential learning topics and case studies from popular documentaries that we're going to roll out this fall, as well as have leadership roundtable discussions with our alumni. So we've done 3 this so far, and we plan to do 1 every month, where we have 2 student athletes facilitate and moderate a conversation with 2 different alumni. Some have a theme, sometimes it's just broader leadership. And quick, again, 30 minutes, record that, invite all our student athletes there, and they can engage with our alums and ask questions. So we're really excited about that piece. And then also focusing on community engagement. I think that's a huge piece this fall, finding ways to safely within the COVID environment, but really engage with Baltimore City schools and look at where those options are. And we're real excited. Hopkins has rolled out a awesome new tool called Hopkins Engage, where we can send athletes different opportunities and different trainings and things like that they can do virtually. So no matter where they are, they can still be involved in our community service efforts. So that's something else we do that we're really excited about. And on that note, oversee a couple of student athlete organizations. So we have our Student Athlete Advisory Council, a newly formed Black Student Athlete Association, and Athlete Ally. Those are 3 groups that we'll be working with to increase programming for our student athletes, increase outreach in terms of the community, and then just create a more diverse and inclusive department. So we're really excited with that. And again, any questions you can put in the chat there. Also, some things that we're doing, we're rolling out a new student athlete podcast that we're really excited about. We've recorded 4 episodes, and we will let you parents and students know when that's ready to be released. But the podcast is really exciting. It's total student focused, and really just gives you all an opportunity to kind of hear what the students are doing off the field, and really kind of get to the heart of who they are and what they're doing. And we all know they're really impressive, and some of those stories they have are fantastic. So we want to give them that opportunity to tell their story. So from here, I'm going to kick it over to Hope, and Hope's going to talk a little bit about life design, because it's a differentiator with us, and we're really excited about all the programming she has to offer.
Thanks, Al. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can get maybe a better picture of what we do here in the Life Design Lab. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Hope. I am technically the Life Design Educator for Student Leadership and Involvement at Hopkins, but I'm working really closely to support Patrick Brew, who is the Life Design Educator for Student Athletes. He's recently transitioned into a new role as a director in our office, which we're really excited. So he and I are tag teaming to support student athletes as comprehensively as possible while we find a replacement. So it's really nice to meet you all, and I'm really excited to share the opportunities that we have available to your student athlete completely virtually this fall. So the Life Design Lab is not a traditional career center. So we're really committed to thinking outside of the box and going the extra mile to help our young people prepare for their first job, but also to help them think really intentionally about what type of life that they're really going to enjoy. So what does the bigger picture actually look like? And we hope that in college, they can use their athletics experience, their leadership, their involvement experiences, their academic research experiences to really make sense of themselves and to figure out who they are and what they want to pursue. So our goal is to help them figure out their life's purpose through a couple of key opportunities. We really believe in experiential learning. We care a lot about mentoring and connecting students to alumni from Hopkins. And we really want to make sure that they have chances to try and test things out. So if you are familiar with product design, you're pretty close to being familiar with the life design process. We really care about, going through this process to, answer tough questions. And I think life itself is a pretty tough question. I think a lot of us at different points are trying to navigate and reflect. And so this process can be used iteratively. We want to prepare our young people to use this process over and over again as they make key decisions in their life. So here at Hopkins, they'll go through this phase a ton. We really care about letting them try out any and every interest that they might have. So we really care about them empathizing with themselves, thinking through their values. What is life for? What is work for? What are athletics for? And really using that as a base to help them design forward. With their values and their insights and their empathy, they can then move to the define stage to really lay out some problems or some questions that they want to design around. Do I want to be a structural engineer? Am I interested in doing nonprofit work? Would I like living in a small city versus a big city? So there's no question too big or too small that this process can help them with. We hope then that with these questions in mind, they can ideate and come up with as many ideas as possible and then go try them out. That is what college is for, to talk to people, to have experiences. And we really hope to help connect them to those people and to those experiences. So the primary way that your student athlete can connect with us in the Life Design Lab is through our life design educators. And every student at Hopkins has multiple life design educators that they can come to. So first, every student has a life design educator that's specifically dedicated to their major. So that person can talk to them about industry and major specific opportunities that could be available to them. They also have life design educators like me and Patrick who are more in the co-curricular space. So helping students to think about what they're doing outside of the classroom, what they're doing on the field, what they're doing in their student organizations, and how that plays into their life design. So we would really encourage them to connect with their life design educators in a couple of key ways. First, we provide tons of programming. We are constantly bringing in alumni. We're bringing in employers. We have our life design educators run workshops where students can engage with themselves and with each other. We also really are focusing on rolling out our platform called OneHop, which is an online platform where a student can go on and search for an alumni and connect with them to really have an informational interview and to learn more about their journey and how they've gotten where they are. And then the last piece is that we have office hours. We're staffed pretty much every day from 9 to 5 p.m. Eastern time on a Zoom link that if you go to our website, you can easily access. But there is no shortage of people for your student athlete to talk to. So please make sure that you encourage them to reach out to us so we can get this started. So what does life design athletics specifically look like? These are some really great pictures that Patrick has accumulated throughout his year as the LDE here. Specifically in terms of me and Patrick, you can find both of us in office hours 3 times a week. So Patrick is there on Mondays from 1 to 3 p.m. I'm also there on Mondays from 3 to 5 p.m. And then again, I'm there on Tuesday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So the drop-in space is a time where, you know, they can come in and chat with us about internship goals or thinking through their resume or their cover letter, or just asking some of those deeper questions like, I don't really know if I want to be a doctor. Can you help me talk through this a little bit more? The second piece is we offer student athlete specific programming. So that often is, again, kind of in this drop-in space. Students, when they have time between classes, can drop in and do some life design activities with us. Those will be publicized in our weekly email that we send to them. But we also do team specific programming. So, we've done a team program with every single team in athletics over the past year, which just speaks volumes about how engaged our student athletes are. And then lastly, LDL Athletics has a really great mentoring program that we run in conjunction with Blue Jays Unlimited. And so we're constantly looking for opportunities to both connect student athletes with student athlete alums in one-on-one ways, but also in some bigger networking type opportunities. So make sure that your student athlete looks out for those. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be sure to answer them at the end of the program, but we're really excited and grateful for the partnership we have with Hopkins Athletics, and we look forward to supporting your student throughout their journey.
Have any other members of our student athlete development team that have any thoughts to share? No? Okay. John Kindred, you and Steve Malvaso talking academics and compliance.
All right, good evening again, everyone. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that I was kind of the main point of contact for not just our student athletes, but also for parents and guardians as related to a lot of the questions that I'm sure all of you are still working through related to what this year means from an eligibility standpoint, from a playing season standpoint, and to make sure that you are aware of some of the things that I'm doing to help answer those questions for our student athletes directly, but then also make sure that you understand that I can answer those questions for you as well. So, obviously the semester has started for the fall now, so there aren't quite as many questions likely around deferrals or leaves of absence at this point, but if those still do pop up, certainly leaves of absence are still possibilities at times. And I want to make sure that you understand that I can help you through those questions as it relates to if my student athlete decides that they need to take a break from school, how does that impact them athletically when with their eligibility this year? So certainly let me know if I can be of help to you through those situations. Additionally, as Jen mentioned in her opening, there are certainly a lot of things that are still questions for this year as related to how the NCAA will be supporting championships, what our playing seasons will look like, even what our practices will look like. And we're working through a lot of those right now, and we will continue to work through those as new things happen to come across our desks this year. A lot of that information will be funneled to your student athletes through their coaches. So I've put together a couple of internal question and answer documents that our coaches have shared, and certainly your students have a direct line of communication right back to me if they have questions on that as well. But please keep in mind that, as we work through this, things are bound to change and there will be updates. You might see things publicly posted on social media or from the NCAA directly. If you have questions about those, please feel free to reach out directly to me as well, and I'll do my best to answer your questions related to those updates that do come out nationally. I also wanted to make sure that you are all aware that over the summer, we've worked on some updates to our compliance website. So on hopkinsports.com, there is a dedicated page for compliance. There are a few tabs at the top of that page, one of which is for student athletes, which contains quick hitters, a paragraph or two about very important topics related to compliance. There's also a specific tab for parents and guardians. So if you have not become familiar with that website, please take a look at it. It is a starting point with maybe some answers to your questions. And if what you find then does not answer your questions again, you can always reach out to me directly and I'll help you through those situations. I also wanted to note that we have worked rather extensively on the student athlete handbook, as you can imagine. Updating that for this year, there's been a lot of things that we've had to work through to make sure that we're touching base with those updates related to COVID-19 and how we are changing our practices and our policies for those. So we're almost finished with that. That will be posted on the website hopefully by the end of the week. And that is a PDF document that, again, on hopkinsports.com you can access and review. My information's on there. A lot of other departments on campus that support your student athletes, some who have spoken tonight and some who will not, are in there as well to see what other opportunities there are for support for your student athletes as they navigate what certainly can be a difficult time, generally with college and obviously in the circumstances right now. Just kind of some other quick hitters before I turn it over to Steve. I just wanted to let you know as well that as part of my role as the Assistant Athletic Director for Compliance, I am our liaison to a few other departments on campus. They are Financial Aid and Scholarships, our Office of Institutional Equity, and our Conduct Office. So again, if there are things, questions related to those areas, I know that the Financial Aid Office has certainly been very visible on the town halls that Student Affairs has had over the last few weeks. But if there are still outstanding questions related to, perhaps the adjustments related to your student's package, things of that nature, I can certainly assist in connecting you with the right folks from those departments to answer those questions. And other than that, I really just wanted to, again, give you my name and my face as a point of reference. Certainly as we get into the spring, we hope to have some more information related to the playing and practice seasons and how this year will impact your students as it relates to their eligibility. But we'll certainly get that out as that becomes more clear as decisions are made along the lines. So with that, I will turn it over to Steve to talk a little bit about the academic support that we offer our student athletes and related policies.
Thanks, John. So like I mentioned before, I'm the Assistant Director for Student Athlete Success. So unlike some other campuses that are similar to ours, where a person like me works exclusively in the athletic department, I actually have a dual appointment between athletic and academic affairs so that my role has a strategic balance between, both of the main facets of our student athlete experiences so that, I can help to provide a perspective and provide counsel in ways that, very few others on campus can. And I think that's something that's really important and helps serve our student athletes well. Like Jen Baker mentioned, our student athletes are fortunate in the sense that they can sort of have their cake and eat it too. They don't have to choose. So aside from student athlete development and supplemental advising, I would say the areas that I work most closely with our student athletes in surround academic support resources and our return to learn protocol. So in terms of academic support resources, the three main ones that we offer out of our Office for Academic Support are the pilot program, learning den, and study consulting. So pilot is a loose acronym for peer-led team learning. In many other contexts, you'll hear it referred to as supplemental instruction and functions very similarly. So for most of our gateway science and math courses, as well as some of our other quantitative or highly task-driven gateway courses in areas like Spanish and economics, we have student facilitators who have received an A in a course before and are excited to teach. So they lead small group sessions once a week throughout the entirety of the semester to help students work with the drilled down concepts in those courses to get that extra practice, get those extra reps. So it's essentially like having small group breakouts for practice with the team, position group practices, things like that, right? So they're going to be doing that throughout the course of an entire semester with the same group so that they get to build the continuity, they get to learn students' learning styles and work styles to best maximize the support that they can give them. Next is the learning den. So this is sort of the traditional group tutoring that you may envision being available at a school like this. So students have the opportunity to come in, sort of come and go as they please to work on different courses and different concepts that they may need help with. So unlike pilot, which is a lesson plan oriented, facilitator driven type of environment, the learning den functions as a student driven type of environment. So a student identifies what it is that they need help with, so they're going to come seek it out, and they're going to work with somebody who has an in-depth knowledge of whatever that concept is to help them out. In addition to that, we're sort of integrated within departments like economics, math, and physics to sort of increase the scope of the support that we can provide to student athletes. And then finally, study consulting is a universal skill development opportunity. So unlike Pilot and Learning Den, which are course specific, discipline specific, study consulting helps student athletes on some of the skills that they need to continue to develop and continue to foster that will help them throughout all of their courses, throughout all of their academic experience. Things like studying, test taking, time management, and this may seem like interesting things at a place like Johns Hopkins where our student athletes are so academically driven and capable, but the adjustment from high school to college, regardless of where they're coming from or how great their preparation was, it's still a step up, right? So they're going from being the big fish in a little pond somewhere to being a smaller fish in a bigger pond. So some of these things that they may have taken for granted because they were so naturally and intrinsically gifted in what they did, maybe they never had to study that often, or maybe they didn't have to manage their time super efficiently because everything was just so easy in coming to them. And, we have students who work with others to kind of help them foster some of those skills in a way that is specific and individualized to them. So finally, the Return to Learn program that I mentioned. So when our student athletes experience a major personal event, so potentially an injury such as a concussion or something like a family situation that may preclude them from being in class or hitting a deadline for an assignment, I'll work with our student athletes to liaise between our faculty and Liz Winberry's office, Student Outreach and Support, to stay in touch with our faculty and help work out some sort of alternative arrangement to help our student athletes out in sort of a pinch, basically, to help minimize the amount of negative experiences or effects that come from something like that. Throughout the course of a year, I'll interact with our student athletes in a variety of ways, but it's really up to most of our student athletes as to how they sort of want to tailor their experience academically, how they want to build their schedules, maybe deviate from what their advisors are potentially mentioning to help fit everything in a way that may feel a little non-traditional to other parts of campus, but actually help enhance the way that our student athletes experience things. And that's something that I encourage all of our student athletes to, approach myself and others with to help them, best fit in the best possible scope of their experience. So I'm really excited to start another year working with all of our student athletes. Don't hesitate to ask questions and enter things into the chat, and I'll help out with whatever I can. But now I'll turn it over to Aaron Long and Ryan Slay to talk about sport performance and wellness.
Go ahead, Aaron. You're on.
All right, thank you. So my name is Erin Long. I'm the Director of Sports Performance and Wellness and the head athletic trainer here at Johns Hopkins. The Sports Performance and Wellness team is made up of our athletic training staff, as well as strength and conditioning. But also we connect athletes to nutrition, mental health services, and a variety of other resources. We act kind of as that connecting bridge for all of the health and wellness needs that our athletes might have. So our athletic training staff right now continues to be and is still available for all of our athletes to coordinate all medical care that they might need. Our athletes can contact us and we're available to discuss kind of the best course of action to help care for any injuries and illnesses that arise while engaging in the activities on their own. We have 6 athletic trainers on staff, and each team has their own athletic trainer that they can contact, but really any of us are available to help with the needs of our student athletes. So on a normal occasion, we are providing daily injury prevention, treatments, practice and game coverage, rehab for athletes in the athletic training room, but we can continue to provide some of these things through telehealth consults with our athletes. We can provide at-home rehab and prevention programs. We can connect athletes with various resources, both in the Baltimore area and at home. We also have our team physicians. We have 16 physicians that we work with. 2 are orthopedics and 1's a hand and wrist ortho specialist. And then we have 3 sports medicine physicians that handle primary care concerns, concussions, and a variety of overuse sport-related injuries. Again, on normal circumstances, when we're allowed on campus, these team physicians come in on a weekly basis. We have one just about every night that is in the athletic training room in order to see our athletes. And then they also provide some game coverage for specific sports as well. All of them are JHU physicians, with the exception of the 1 hand and wrist specialist, and they are all currently seeing patients in their office locally. So we can connect any of our local athletes to them if needed to be seen in their office. We can also connect any athletes that might be in the surrounding states to our team physicians through telehealth appointments. And then those that are in other states where telehealth restrictions don't allow our team physicians to provide care during this virtual time, we can find local, or they have local connections through their network that we can get our athletes connected with. Recently, we've also made a lot of local connections for our team physicians and our staff to utilize for extended PT services. So we have a lot of resources in the area that we can send athletes to that may need longer term PT care as well. We also have a lot of on-campus resources, like Liz mentioned, with the student outreach and support. We have student health and wellness that is on campus as well, and they are still open and available to all of our students. They can provide care for any illnesses, and currently are offering limited in-person visits, but telehealth visits for students if needed. In addition, our counseling center is also still available for all of our athletes, and they are also providing limited services for more emergent needs, but also telehealth services. And as Liz mentioned previously as well, they have a lot of great resources on their website, including Timely MD. All of our athletes have access to the Calm app, as well as a program called Silver Cloud. So we continually try to communicate all of these resources to our athletes so that they do understand what is available to them, and we can connect them with these resources if needed. In regards to kind of the formal process with forms and paperwork, we are asking that all of our athletes continue to submit all of that information to us so that we can be a resource to them right now. All of our staff is providing in-person or is providing virtual team meetings with our teams right now that we are going over all of these resources with, as well as doing some concussion education and COVID-19 education. The COVID-19 education includes the resources that are available to athletes locally, as well as what to do when they're sick. And it also gives guidance to those athletes that are at home. And we're following university guidance for all of our local athletes and encouraging them to use the resources that are available to them through the university if they are in the Baltimore area. Additionally, we're explaining our current protocols to the athletes for those that have tested positive, for any additional screenings that we may need to do and what those protocols entail. We are asking all of our athletes to inform us when they do get sick, just as they would any other time. And then if they do get tested, to inform us of that moving forward so that we can help offer guidance in that area as well. As I mentioned, the sports performance team also includes our strength and conditioning program. We have 5 strength and conditioning coaches that work with our teams. Each team is assigned a strength and conditioning coach, but are all a resource to our athletes. John Ferber is our head strength and conditioning coach, and he oversees the entire strength and conditioning department. They, at this time, are continuing to provide all of our athletes with programming that they can utilize if they want to engage in activities to stay active and in shape during this time. And our athletes are always welcome to reach out to them for guidance or feedback or anything that they might want to do from a strength and conditioning standpoint. So we're here as a resource for our athletes, and we want them to come to us for anything health and wellness related. We want all of our athletes to stay healthy and be able to compete in a high level and hopefully get back out there on the field sooner rather than later. So again, we just encourage all of our athletes to reach out and use us as a resource.
Thank you, Erin. All right. Next up is our partners at Blue Jays Unlimited, Grant Kelly and Meredith Rosenblatt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grant Kelly. I'm the Senior Director of Development, and I'm entering my 15th year at Johns Hopkins.
My name is Meredith Rosenblatt, and I am entering my 8th year at Hopkins, and I am the Director of Development.
So I want to personally welcome all of our new freshman families tonight and welcome back some of our sophomore, junior, and senior families who are tuning in tonight as well. You know, if we were on campus, I would be able to point out all of the wonderful facilities and improvements we've done over the last several years, you know, thanks to the generous alumni and parent support. But instead, we'll be waiting a little while, but when we get back on campus soon, you'll be able to check everything out. So anyway, without further ado, Blue Jays Unlimited is our official fundraising arm for Hopkins Athletics, and we have the privilege to support your student athletes in 3 specific areas. The first is philanthropic support. We rely heavily on alumni and parents to help us provide the best possible experience for our student athletes. Over all of my years at Hopkins, my favorite project was right in our athletic center, and that was building our student athlete lounge. We have a comfortable space for our athletes to congregate before or after practice, to study, have a snack, watch TV. This is just one example of many how a need from our student athletes became a reality thanks to philanthropic support from alumni and parents. The second area that we're very involved in is student athlete networking. We partner directly with our Life Design Lab to put student athletes in touch with many of our successful alumni. Our alums will drop everything to help with our student athletes. And believe me, their network among all industries is extremely far reaching. So we look forward to helping not only connect your student athletes with specific alumni, but set them up for opportunities down the road with different internships and job opportunities in partnership with our Life Design Lab. Lastly, but not least, we love events, from post-game tailgates to happy hours in New York and to our large alumni days. We're here to put on a great party for our alumni and parents. Honestly, we're one giant family at Hopkins, and our event opportunities will provide you a great avenue to meet our alums and most importantly, spend quality time with your athletes before and after competition. So thanks again for joining us tonight. And I want to turn it back over to Meredith to give you a little bit more information on how to get involved if you choose to do so. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. So in my role, I meet with many of our athletic parents to discuss the various fundraising opportunities for our sports-specific annual funds, as well as our general student athlete fund. Every summer, our team meets with all of our head coaches, and that's when we determine what our fundraising priorities are going to be for that year. Most of the teams were fundraising for both volunteer and full-time assistant coaches, any out-of-region travel, for example, the swimming training trip to Florida. We help fundraise for our strength and conditioning program and any specialized equipment like a GPS tracking system that our athletes will use. So even though we are not playing this season, we're still going to rely heavily on the support from our parents and our alums. This is so that we're not behind our peers when we return to competition in 2021. You're able to give directly to your child's team's annual fund. So if your daughter is on the women's basketball team, you can give directly to that annual fund and know that it's going back to them. If you give $25 or more, you automatically become a member of the BJU Club, where you receive benefits, including a small gift in the mail and then access to any of our in-person events that Grant mentioned, and access to our exclusive gear websites. In my 8 years here, we've always been fortunate to have a really generous group of parents, and I look forward to meeting and working with many of you over the next few years. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time left here. We did open up the chat feature here, and we've gotten a number of questions that have come through. I'm going to go ahead and read some of those off, and we'll get some of our staff panel here to answer some of those questions. First one goes, I think, to Steve Malvaso around academic support. Can a freshman teach in the pilot program or within tutoring? And and if so, are they paid roles?
Yeah, so pilot and tutoring both have the same sort of general requirements to be able to serve in those roles. So students have to have a 3.0 GPA and have received at least an A- in the course that they're looking to either facilitate in or tutor in, and then have some level of previous experience with tutoring or mentoring, either formal or informal. So second semester freshmen would be able to, but with study consulting, the requirement is for students to be junior level or above, because the scope of the work and way that they're providing counsel is something that we want students to have a little more perspective on, a little more experience with. But all three of those positions are paid.
Thanks, Steve. Next one looks like it'd be for Aaron for athletic training. For graduate students who still have athletic eligibility and are currently in the Baltimore area, can the JHU wellness kits be made available?
Yeah, so the wellness kits are completely through the university itself. So I'm not sure the process for kind of going about expanding that to graduate students as well, but I think we could reach out to our Health and Wellness Center and those folks to see if there is any availability to be able to offer them to the broader graduate students as well.
I'm gonna tag team on that one, unfortunately, and be the bad news bearer. University, yeah, there isn't. I appreciate that in this case it would make nothing but sense. But the university had to make a decision, and they elected to provide them to undergraduate students only, so they are not available to graduate students. And we would not then be able to provide one to an athlete graduate student, because then that would fall under the realm of compliance violation, because we're not allowed to provide benefits to student athletes simply because of their athletic status. We're not allowed to provide them things that are not more broadly available to all students. So unfortunately, in this case, we will not be able to provide that. And that was a decision made well above us.
Great. Next one, Aaron, I think is going to be in your wheelhouse as well.
Yeah.
Folks wanting to know what kind of programs might be in place to support our athletes in regards to fitness, diet, as they train on their own.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our strength and conditioning coaches have packets that they're offering to all of our teams to utilize and continue their workouts while they're at home. They can reach out to their strength and conditioning coach too if they want something more above and beyond. I know our coaches have been open to communicating about the access to equipment in order to tailor those programs if needed, because some athletes might not have access to equipment while others may have access to a full gym. So I would just encourage your athlete to reach out to their strength and conditioning coach. In addition, we are offering, we have 2 Yoga for Athletes programs that are offered weekly, and those are through the Rec Center website. And our Rec Center also has a variety of great programs that they're doing virtually right now that all students have access to. So we also offer that information to all of our athletes as well. In regards to diet, I would encourage the athlete to reach out to their athletic trainer, and we can connect them with the nutritional resources that they might need as well.
Can I this may become a theme, so I'm going to apologize.
It's okay.
I just want to make sure you guys have all the information that I think is really, really important here. So yes, we will provide all of those support services. And in particular, I know there's a great interest among our athletes to, continue their fitness regimen. And certainly I think that's great. But because Hopkins is basically closed, because our student athletes are not on campus, because we are not officially sanctioning athletically related activity, things need to be voluntary. And with that, the student athletes know this, we reinforce this with them multiple times, but above and beyond that, if teammates decide that they're going to go work out and they encourage, your son or daughter to go along with them, there can be no retribution for kids who elect to not participate with something that may be happening, even if it's part of a voluntary, like a strictly team organized activity. And so I just think it's important to know that. And again, we're reiterating this with our student athletes, but particularly in this environment, we don't want any of our student athletes to feel like they're in a scenario that makes them feel unsafe or exposes them to something or anything like that. And so it's particularly important just to emphasize for everybody, so everybody's aware that voluntary means that, truthfully, and that if they elect not to participate, there can be no retribution. Even if you're one of our Division I scholarship athletes, like none of that can be touched. This truly is a voluntary environment, right? We're in right now.
Excuse me. Next question does kind of center around COVID in general and wanting to know if there's additional testing or screening for student athletes after they recover from COVID, particularly around concerns that you've seen in the media around cardiac issues.
Yeah, so we currently do have a protocol that our team physicians have developed, and that's why we are encouraging all athletes to let us know when they do test positive, and then we've been communicating that protocol to all of our athletes. And pieces of it do include some cardiac screening as well.
Great. And the last question here that came through was just wanting to know when coaches will introduce themselves and speak directly to parents as it relates to their programs and expectations here for the fall while we're in this virtual environment. Really what I would just say to that is that following up directly with your athletes coach, I know a number of our coaches in talking to them and meeting with them on a weekly basis, many of them are having those conversations where parents are certainly involved and included in getting all the information that pertains to their athlete and to their program for this fall. So with that, I don't believe there are any other questions. So I will go ahead and turn that over to Jen Baker for our final remarks of the evening.
Yes, I do think we got one last question there right at the wire. So talking about what we know about athletic-based pods and if Hopkins condones that kind of thing. So I think right now what we're seeing across the country is we're seeing professional leagues have some success with a bubble model where they're truly able to lock their folks in, monitor their health daily, and really keep a safe, controlled environment. Unfortunately, our students are students first, student athletes are students first, and in a collegiate environment, that type of model just doesn't work, despite what they're talking about for the NCAA March Madness tournament. So to be determined if we actually wind up in a place where there is some sort of hybrid bubble, at least at the of Division I, because I know that they're certainly paying close attention to what the professional leagues are doing. That said, on Hopkins campus, it's not something that we've discussed or looked at because it's not feasible. If we have students on campus, they'll also be in classes, they'll be interacting with each other, and so we cannot isolate athletic populations in that regard in the same way that professional leagues can. And again, it's also, it sort of goes counter, even though I know that sort of all the rules that we traditionally observe have gone out the window a bit with COVID, and we've had to rethink a lot of things. We want our student athletes to be fully integrated into a campus experience as students, and then obviously have the opportunity to pursue their athletic activities. And so with that, a truly bubble model is not something we're looking at. Now, that said, we are highly encouraging all students to keep a small, tight social circle, particularly those who are upper class who may have chosen to return to Baltimore, but really limit their exposure to other students for obvious reasons, and to try to stay basically within the pod of whomever they're living with, which, as you might imagine, is an imperfect science with 18 to 22-year-olds, because they are a social bunch and they got sent home early in the semester in the spring and have missed one another. And so with that, we're continuing to message to them how to interact with one another safely, which effectively is outside from a safe distance and masked. So we're hopeful that they'll continue to observe that so that we can keep everybody safe and healthy, because our opportunities moving forward this year really are going to be a direct reflection of what happens this fall. Certainly nationally, regionally, locally, but then above and beyond that, if our students are doing the right things and they're maintaining the best interest of public health and safety, that's going to help their cause significantly, because it will make campus, we'll have confidence that we can return everybody to campus in a very safe way. So with that said, just double checking the chat window. Yeah, I think that was the last question. So thank you again for joining us. I know that an hour and 20 minutes of Zoom, one more in your day is often challenging, but we did think it was very important that you had all this information. If there's a silver lining to this, typically we would offer this to freshman parents when they drop their students off, because they're already here, and we would do it in person. But I think in this format, I'm hopeful that there are a number of upper class parents who've chosen to join us as well, because things continue to evolve within our department. There's just lots of exciting stuff happening, certainly within our department and elsewhere on campus. And so I think the opportunity to hear about that, I hope, was a valuable one for you. As everyone on this call has said, if you have questions that come to you later, if there's more support that you need or that your student athlete needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. Certainly you can reach out to your coach, you can reach out to a sport administrator. Above and beyond that, you've met a number of our campus partners. We're all here to serve you. And most importantly, we're all here to support your students, because we very much value that you entrust us with them. And we want to provide them the best possible experience that we can while they're with us during their time at Homewood. And certainly they're with us now, if not directly on campus, but they are a Blue Jay. Their journey has begun, and we look forward to shepherding them through that over the course of the next few years. And I promise that competitive excellence piece is coming back, because one thing I will say about Hopkins that makes it a very fun place to work is that all of our teams are good. And I think that that's going to just exponentially increase from here, not because they've been on the field and been practicing diligently, but because they've been doing all the work off the field, and because they're going to value that experience in a whole new way, which I can only imagine will help us continue to get their very best from them. So excited to have them on the journey, excited to have you on this journey with us. Again, please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything, and go Hop.